Hi, Marla. How are you doing today? Hi, Kathy. How are you doing today?
Good afternoon. Exciting stuff today.
I agree. I agree. So just so everyone knows, we are recording this, so that way, for the individuals that have requested a copy of it because of the fact that they weren't able to attend, I'll be able to privately share this out with them. So if you have any questions, feel free to ask them throughout. I'm going to introduce myself and then I'm going to have Randy Jason introduce himself. So my name is Jackie Cooper, and I'm not sure where each of you or those that are going to be seeing this recording saw the link about solar and about the event that is geared towards real estate agents and those that own homes who are interested in owning solar and converting an expense into an asset. But my background is that I'm in law and I'm in education. I'm also in the solar space because I believe that we all need to be able to help our planet and help our budget. So that's why I got involved with that. And the Blockchain Legal Institute, which is behind me, is one of my passion projects because I'm interested in always making sure that individuals know how to support themselves through innovative technologies. And blockchain is one of those innovative technologies that is now supporting individuals and businesses. So with that, I'm going to have, since our conversation today is solar, I'm going to have Randy introduce himself and more about our topic. And if either of you have questions, feel free to interrupt and share.
That was a really great introduction. Thanks, Jackie. And hi everybody. My name is Randy Jason. I come into the solar world through the investment banking world. I was on Wall Street for a long, long time, well over 20 years, and identifying the fact that I have an expertise in stuff that comes out of the ground, which means economic development authority, which in turn is where the creative components take place in real estate, ironically. But because I have experience in this, I really wanted to make transition, making the world a little bit of a better place for my kids. Furthermore, your kids, our kids together, and at least being able to show everyone on this call the interests that have taken place with real estate. Also identifying some of the nuances that one should ask as a real estate professional in order to understand solar a little bit more efficiently, effectively, and ultimately to position yourselves better in the sale of solar on a property that either does or does not have it on it, so you could speak from experience and now this education too. So that's a little bit about me. Jackie, do you want me to share some slides? What would you like me to do? You tell me.
I think slides are great, and then we can have questions as we go.
Okay, fair enough. Please feel free to interrupt as I'm talking, everybody. This is all about collaboration and getting to know some of the things that come across in the topics of conversation that some of this information may provide to you as well. Excuse me for just a second. I'm going to come off screen. All right. So let's talk about some facts. Your clients are going solar. You're finding homes on properties that have solar right now, with or without you. 1 in 4 homes will have solar in the next 10 years. Right now, it's 1 in 20 homes have solar on them. And that may or may not be in your area in which you are a realtor, but recognize that roughly 1 in 20 homes today do have solar on it nationwide. Talking a little bit about this, what is most expensive in regards to a home purchase? What do you get when you buy a home that's a bad deal? Positioning yourself from understanding what it is that solar does not do for the homeowner. Solar eliminates an electric bill. As much as permissibly is allowed on the surface of the roof to install solar, that could eliminate 100% of the energy consumed by the consumer. Is that a good deal? Is that a bad deal? Well, there's some specifics behind that that would allow me to answer it a little bit better. Whether or not the home has shading on it, whether or not the structure of the roof can support solar, also has to do with whether or not it's a good deal or a bad deal. There will be a day in which there won't be any more gas cars. There will be. Will that happen in our lifetime? Solar panels last 45 to 50 years. Will it happen over the next 45 to 50 years? It's certainly possible. And then I listed a few things that I think were quite relevant in this topic of conversation. What home does not have solar? Think about this. What's going to happen in 10 years? What home doesn't have solar? There are great solar incentives, renewable incentives available from the government that help homeowners reduce the out-of-pocket expense. They pay 30% of the total cost of the solar system in the form of a tax credit. They call it the investment tax credit. You will be entitled to that. Certain sectors of the United States also have solar renewable energy certificates. If you're in the great state of Maryland, if you're in the great state of New Jersey, Pennsylvania, and a few others in the area as well, you will receive additional incentives. So in addition to the 30% investment tax credit that one gets for going solar from the government, should you own your own solar system, the state-specific program itself may also eliminate another 20 to 30% of the total cost over a period of time, but still it will help reduce your out-of-pocket expense. Now, many homeowners look at solar energy as a way for them to eliminate the rising costs that take place by being subjected to energy bills that come directly from the utility itself. Clearly, when there's a natural disaster, these things challenge the electric grid. When that happens, those costs are passed along to the consumer that has an electric bill. When you produce your own energy on your home, you have solar energy on it, or your clients do, that's not going to be relevant. I ask these questions because I think they're pertinent. As real estate agents on this call, you should know that if there was a pool in that property, it may or may not make the value of the property go up. Only you would know that, depending on the market that you're in. Real estate itself also has a built-in revenue stream when solar's attached to it. That revenue stream is why your homeowner that's buying the house that has solar should be paying for today's value that's being delivered from the previous homeowner that's selling it. There are administrative changes that take place. Obviously, one's going to look for a pool if they want to go shopping for a pool with it, the house that they're looking for. If not, they're not going to really look at it. The same goes true with solar. They either want it, they don't want it, or they're just sitting on the fence because they think it makes sense for them to wait a few months till they have an electric bill to figure out how much electric consumption that home is going to use. All they really needed to do is ask the previous homeowner to provide them a copy of their utility bill to understand how much energy is needed to be produced from solar in order to eliminate an electric bill. Now, from a real estate perspective, guys understand this model. We know the difference between Kmart and Amazon. We know the difference between a taxi and Uber, Marriott, and the Airbnb perspective. We know that companies like Blockbuster went out of business to Netflix. We know that Prudential Real Estate can now leverage themselves on a platform called EXP, which makes it nationwide, and you're able to sell in other markets as long as you're licensed accordingly for it. So a couple fun facts. There happens to be 130 million families that are plugged into the electric grid today. Now, there are 4 million homes that are on solar, a little bit more, close to 5 million, but there's around 90 million that would qualify for no money out of pocket. And I'm not selling you solar, I'm just giving you an overview of it. But recognize that homeowners are asking for more choices when it comes to their electricity. They want more support towards renewable energy, and they'd be interested in solar energy for their homes. So for any of the buys or sells that you have, it does make sense to establish yourself with Jackie and her team to create what would be another vertical of income. You'd be making close to $1,000 for every referral, unless you wanted to sell it yourself. I'm not asking anybody on this call to make or wear a different hat and stay into the lane that they're comfortable with. But look at these percentages. It's unbelievable how high they are. 88% of homeowners support renewable energy, and 62 of those would be interested in more of it, yet almost 70%, want more choices when it comes to electricity. So these are some interesting facts to discuss. If you come across a home that has a lien on it, a tax lien on it, we have to go back to the company and ask for a lien to be removed. Solar systems have a UC1 filing lien against it. It's a fixtures lien. It's a fixture, but it's not built into your house. It can be added to your monthly expenses by paying cash for it through a monthly plan that you have with your bank, but we happen to have some very competitors available for that to happen too. There is no prepayment penalty on most of the contracts that you're going to come across, but there are some differences between leases and active ownership that we need to discuss. So there are two main options. There's a lease, a purchase agreement, a power purchase agreement. That's what the PPA stands for. And that's in itself a rental system. The benefits from energy, from solar being cheaper than the utility, and you would then, you don't own the solar system, so there's a lien against just that piece on your property. You don't get the federal tax credit. You don't have a loan. You don't have a no cash payment. You do need a 630 or higher in credit in order to redo your loan. There is this fixture filing lien, which needs to be released at the time of closing. And you do have an option to buy out the solar system from whatever leasing program you have, as long as it's been in existence for at least 5 years. You can renegotiate to say you're the new homeowner, saving value and money. You can also transfer the loan directly to the new homeowner. That usually happens on agreements between 20 and 25 years. But like anything else, you'll have a buyout, removal, renewable energy. It'll be the next best and brightest thing. Some of the other points of reference for a lease and a power purchase agreement, why am I bringing them up? I'm bringing them up because when you come across a home that has solar on it, how do you identify what the true value of your solar project is and what its worth is to the next homeowner? Simple question. Let's identify the contract, the parts of the solar system, and a copy of the electric bill. And Jackie and our team will be able to evaluate that lease option for you. See what makes sense for the homeowner. There are ways of purchasing versus leasing. When you purchase something, you're entitled to the 30% tax credit provided to you from the IRS when you file your tax return. The example of that is a $20,000 system costing a credit of $6,000, which is 30% of $20,000. Therefore, they'll get They'll get a check for about $14,000 based on this example, You're going to add value to your home. You're going to get a loan that is most likely something you're going to come across in your real estate dealings that will be between 10 and 25 years. Remember, it could be other types of loans, the PACE Hero piece, tax liens. There are plenty of different ways of paying your UCC1 fixture filing cost. But you do need it in order for it to be installed. How solar works is a technology converts energy from the sun into usable energy through an inverter on the side of one's house, into the main service panel, and then any excess energy that's not consumed gets sent back to the electric company. What does it look like when you are sitting down with somebody and they're about to hand you an electric bill, and you're looking for the little thing that says solar energy production? Well, it doesn't necessarily show that. This is what it shows. You'll see a bar graph, you can see the before and after piece, and then there's additional information we need to talk about as well. But at this point, does anybody have any questions?
I don't have any questions at the moment. Kathy or Marla, do you have any questions?
Okay. So at this point,
No,
you
I don't have any questions. Sorry about that.
That's okay. So at this point, there's additional information regarding your net consumption, meaning what is going to be the value of your solar system when you are buying a property, and looking at conversely, if you're selling the process, or you're selling a home with solar on it, how does the consumer that owns the house get compensated? It can be worked in two different ways, maybe three. The first is they can go after their own financing. The second, they can go through our financing, but the process takes between 2 and 3 months from contract into installation. I'll let you know that PSE&G is just finally starting to catch up for all of the solar projects that were not installed over the last 12 months. They started with dinners, they started with meals, and now they're on drinks. So we can look at this in different ways, right? The food here in front of us is understanding the pieces of this pie. And solar in itself is also something that we can recognize when walking around a property. What do I mean by that? Well, recognizing that there's different types of solar systems, there's different types of backup battery systems to consider. And if solar includes a battery backup, that's also going to increase some costs to either the acquirer or increase the bottom line to selling the property for somebody who's the seller. There's different types of energy storage systems. One is a Generac that many people have been accustomed to over the years. That's gas driven, kind of like the Duro Max that you're seeing on the screen, where the other two on the right side of the screen are batteries known as Enphase, Tesla, SolarEdge, and LG. Each one of those batteries represents close to $13,000 in installation costs. So again, how do we determine what the true value of the solar system is? Well, we have to figure out what entity it's owned in. We need to understand if it's a lease. We need to understand if it's owned. We need to understand who has the first position on it if the taxing exists. And we also have to understand whether or not it's a subordinate or it's an attached asset that carries a UCC1 filing lien. And there's many different ways to look at this, but when you are acquiring a property that has solar on it, you should be asking these questions. We need to see a copy of your solar contract. We also need to see a copy of your electric bill, which will either show all these credits coming in, or it may even uncover that one of the panels is not functioning correctly and therefore it's not producing as much energy as it should be. And for that matter, as a buyer goes, that's a great negotiating component to discuss with the buyer. They may be able to walk away from the house for, say, $20,000, $30,000 less if their system is not functioning. So also interesting ways of looking at it. Now, how we as a team can help you is that if you ever have a listing with solar, just email us. If you want to make an offer for a buyer on a listing side, you want to email us too. Or if you're interested in a review of the solar contracts, the approximate value of the solar system, and whether or not it truly makes sense for you to buy it, or based on, the scenario that you're coming into, it may be a good deal, it may not be. But I reference these points to you because I want you to see that over time, warranty companies have truly changed this business game. They've said, let's take the risk out of the manufacturer going into business, because we know that taxis are they're not really longer in the market any longer. Uber is, but not really taxis. So using that as an example, in the event that one of your homes that you've done business with now is interested in installing solar, but they also want to make sure that they're covered. They want a warranty. So we can offer them that. It's a 30-year bumper warranty. You can see what it covers: parts and labor. There's no money out of pocket. It's complete US coverage. It's transferable. And everything that is involved in this is handled directly through PowerCare. That being said, there are different types of utilities to consider when you're either acquiring or buying a property with solar on it. First thing that you need to do, if you're on the buyer side, is request a copy of their net metering documentation, because those monitors, those warranties, has to do with the inverters. In essence, if your solar system is a 10 kW producing 12,000 kilowatt hours a year, and you on average only spend 1,000 of those hours, but 1 month you create a lot of energy because the sun's up in the sky. Well, you're able to store that energy in the form of a net metering piece on the electric bill. So I think it's important and vitally important for real estate agents to ask that question. Let's look at a copy of the electric bill. Let's understand what the true value of your solar system is. And it's that simple of a question. There are some other points of reference that I put into place. The list side, you can call us. We can put together what solar is in a description. You could have us talk to your buyer, discussing options, transferring, buying it out, and clearly knowing what utilities would normally be at that house at that particular time. So we have to look at a variety of different pieces. Again, call us if you have any questions. That's what we're here for. But if you ask for a credit equal to 1 to 2 years of payments and ask the seller to pay part of the buyout clauses, that may work as well. We look at all new homes slightly different. In the state of Florida, in the city of Miami, any new home that's built must have solar energy installed on it. State of California, they require solar panels on any new construction. They require it. So state-specific issues are going to be relevant for each and every single sale that was done over the last 5-7 years in your neck of the woods. Now, it may not be the prettiest, but it eliminates a lot of electric expenses. So homeowners sell faster, according to the U.S. Department of Energy. They spend less time on the market because people are looking for solar energy on their property. And there are other state incentives. For example, there are Berkeley Labs, and then there is the Department of Housing and Urban Development. And lastly, you have a company like Zillow promoting solar energy on it. So I'm opening up the questions at the moment. Who has some at this time?
You haven't
Okay.
mentioned, this is residential, but you haven't mentioned the commercial side or the nonprofit side. Do you want to just touch a little bit on that, even though I know that right now we're looking at the residential side?
Yeah, commercial is a different vehicle. Most realtors are looking at what electric expense the homeowner has in a commercial project. And clearly the tenants are paying their own electric bill. You can't control what they use and what they don't use. So I don't recommend solar on that aspect of that property. I would anticipate solar would be appropriate for any commercial business. But what you can realize is that you're going to be receiving some additional benefits. For example, you have a depreciation schedule that's available. You can depreciate the entire cost of the asset up through the 6th year, which means all 5 years of tax deductions will be completed within 6 years. You get a one-time federal tax credit from the IRS for going solar. It's 30%. If the average solar system is 50 grand, government's going to write you a check for 15,000. Pretty good. Not a bad deal. And we have lending options available as low as a little shy of 5%, which isn't bad. And I ask myself this question often. If I could give money to my broker and he can make as much or as little as I make in the course of the day, but he could recognize or she could recognize the fact that it's still going to cost them money for everything they do in the course of their day. Here's an opportunity for you to show value to the consumer, value to the homeowner, show them that solar energy makes great sense. The commercial platform is designed specifically for shared workspaces. In essence, you're going to be looking at them from a different angle. You're not looking at offsetting electricity from solar energy for their tenants. You're looking at it as a building that shares space. So outdoor lights, hallways, exits, anything that's required to be on in a building 24/7, that's all an opportunity for every real estate agent to realize there's a great way of reducing some of the expense.
What
And
about
that is one of those ways you can do that.
what about with if there are real estate investors and that they own the properties as investment properties? How does that solar on those properties might work to their?
Every single property is entitled to a 30% tax credit. Every single property that goes on a commercial property is designed to be paid off. Sure, but over what time period? During that time period, up through and including the 6th year, you can get depreciation on asset. You can depreciate the whole asset. And you don't pay the taxes on that income produced. So there are 3-4 different ways that you can get income streams from the state that you live in, the federal government. You may actually have an electric company that'll send you a bar of soap for saying, thank God you've gone solar, and there are many others as well, Jackie, many others as well. But those are some key points for you. Looking at this a little bit further, what happens to the solar value in the appraisal? Well, most solar systems that have been on a property are less than 10 years today. But if the solar system lasts 45 to 50 years, what's the percentage that you would reduce the value that was added to the property at the time it was installed in order for an appraiser to give you the proper information on it? It's a loaded question, but does anybody know what the time frame is for that to happen when looking at solar energy?
Why don't you share?
So from this perspective, you have to look at a variety of different topics. Does it make sense? Is it fiscally responsible? Can you pay off this and compare apple to apple? What's the life expectancy of the panels, 45 to 50 years? How many years are you involved in owning these panels already from the buyer side or the seller side? If there's 10 years of production made, it's important for you to reduce the number that real estate agents are told appraisers will increase property value per kilowatt. Right now, that number sits at around $4,000 per kilowatt installed. Each market's different. That could be plus or minus in your market. but you're entitled to a 30% tax credit. And on the commercial side, as discussed, you can depreciate the asset as well. But to go after this a little bit further, how do you assign the value? Well, first, we know that we want you to stay in the lane that you're comfortable with. If you ask the right questions, can I see a signed contract of the project? If you can't get it from the homeowner, they had to apply for a building department through the permits in order for them to install electrical components on their property. If you uncover that they didn't do that, then that's not a homeowner I want to do business with. I want everything to be dotted and crossed correctly, and for all of this to make great sense to the consumer. There are some times that we have to make decisions for them, you know, but there are options available. And I think that that is my overall slide piece. The overall options I'm referring to is they can remove the solar panels on their property. They can pay them off on their property, or they can hire an appraiser that will value the property correctly. They need to be green energy certified. If they're not, therein lies the challenge with them being the right appraisal for your property. Just an overview, Jackie.
Yeah, no, that's great. Marla, what questions do you have? And also, what state are you located in? You're still on mute.
Okay.
So, Marla, I guess you don't have any questions. Any last minute thoughts on how the solar can benefit the real estate market and the agents? Otherwise, you know, after that, we'll end the recording, and I appreciate your sharing the information.
Absolutely. So, Jackie, some of the things that I come across with meeting with other real estate agents, I find that they just don't have the education behind how to value solar. Having a couple quick baseline thoughts. Solar panels last 45 to 50 years, you know that. If they're on for 10 years, the maximum value added to a property is $4,000 for every 1,000 of kilowatt hours of energy. Now, I don't want to lose anybody in that statement. It's basically saying 1 kW. The average home has about 10, and it's 10 years into a solar project. I want everybody to see that you're not going to get really 4,000 per kilowatt or $40,000. You're going to get roughly a third less, 20% less. And therefore, you have to price it accordingly. You also have to justify it with the buying or the selling agent that you're opposed, that you're in opposite positions with. And that's where it becomes very clear to me that most real estate agents don't understand that. Then, in order for us to be understanding these pieces, we have to evaluate the type of solar system it is. Is it a lease? Is it owned? Has it been paid off in cash? All great questions, all very important for the homeowner to be involved in. They want you to do your due diligence. They want your customers to do their own due diligence. And that's why they're not doing business with the real estate agent at the time that they're entertaining you. So that's how I would leave it. I just want everybody to hear that for what it's worth. And I hope everybody got a little, as an insight goes, out of this conversation today.
Yeah, no, I think it's what you shared was really important. I know that for those that were on the call, as well as for those that I'm going to be sharing this with after the recording, I know that they might have questions, and if you do have questions, feel free to reach out to me. My email is jcoopersolutions@gmail.com. I'll also have that embedded within the video as well. So for sure, we're both here to support having solar be put onto homes or businesses. And if you have any questions, we're here to support everyone who's in the real estate market. That includes the homeowners. So Marla, any last minute questions before we sign off?
Thank you so much. No, I've really learned a lot, and I've taken some information. I've got your emails I've learned a lot. Thank you so much for allowing me to join the meeting.
We appreciate
Whoops.
you being here and look forward to talking to you soon. So Randy, thank you so much for being on. I'm going to stop the recording and
Thank you. Bye.
thank you.